Hi, so this is a very short presentation on perfect tenses and when to use them in English. So let's get started. First of all, we have to find out what a perfect tense is, and in English we have the three times we can have for verbs: present, past and future, and we have the four aspects. We have simple, progressive, perfect and perfect progressive. Simple tenses are very often one word, not always, but very often, and watch out for those irregular pasts. Progressives have be plus the ing. Perfects, which is what we'll be studying, always have, has or had in them, and that's a past participle is added to that, which is very often ed for regular verbs. It can be en for irregular verbs, and there are other forms as well. And the perfect progressive is a mix of the two. So we have and have or has, which indicates a perfect, and then be plus the ing. So they are our 12 tenses in English, and we'll be focusing on perfect tenses this time. So we need that have helping verb. Okay, when to use them? Well, first of all, perfect tenses are not in many languages. They can be very difficult for students because they aren't familiar with them from their own L1 language. But generally we use them when two times interact. Well, what do I mean by this? Let's have a look at this sentence. The number of students has risen recently. And we have two times interacting there. We have a time in the past when this started, and this continues up to now. Okay, so it's like a block of time, a past time and a present time coming together. But it's not always. It's not the only time we use perfect tenses. If we're just discussing our experience and there's no specific time, we can also use it. So for example, I have studied this before, or I have traveled to China. Now if we had a specific time there, for example, in 2007, it would change to a past tense. I traveled to China in 2007. So with no specific time we have a perfect tense, but with a specific time we'll use a past simple usually. We can also have it for repeated actions as well. I have called her 4 times already. So again, this is a block of time where something has happened repeatedly. Words which indicate a present perfect, which is generally the best way of choosing when to use it. We have already, just, since, never, ever, twice, 3 times, for example. And we also have for plus a time. Now, they're not always used with these, but they can be a good indicator of when to use them, but it's not a 100% rule. You still have to understand context within the sentence. So as I mentioned, the present perfect is used for 2 times, a past time and a present time interacting. The past perfect is used for 2 past times, and this is formed with had and the past participle. So an example sentence: by the time I noticed my wallet was missing, we had already moved to a different cafe. The one that happened first here is going to be in the past perfect. Okay, had moved happened before the noticing of the wallet. Let's look at another one. When I arrived, they had already broken the door. So again, had already broken is going to happen first, and then the past simple is going to happen afterwards. Okay, so the first thing that happened, we're going to have a past perfect. Now, when students learn this for the first time, they tend to overuse it. Generally, it's quite rare, and only use it when you're confident about its use. If it's clear that one thing happened before another, you do not have to use it. It's only when it's unclear and you have to let the reader or the listener know. Again, words that might indicate it: already, just, never, by the time is also a good indicator. But again, they're not 100% rules. Okay, let's move on to the present perfect progressive, or perfect progressives in general. They're very similar to the present perfect simple, as we just studied. The only difference is if the length of time is emphasized, and it's something it's like an active verb. We can use the present perfect progressive. For example, she has been waiting for 2 years. The emphasis is on the duration of time, so we can use the progressive form there. Again, repetition is another time that you might use it. So I've been calling you all morning. Again, doing something again and again and again, we can use a progressive if the verb suits it. Another time we can use it is if the action remains. So he's been surfing. Maybe he has, I don't know, maybe he's kind of like has sand in his hair, or he's wearing shorts, or he has a surfboard. The effects are visible. And also, the same goes with any progressive. Certain verbs, cannot be used with it. Okay, so believe or be, love, understand. Generally, these are not in the progressive tense, so we don't use them. Okay, words that you should look out for when to use it: for plus a time, or all morning, or all afternoon. These generally indicate a perfect progressive. Okay. Well, example of these two. What have they been doing? Well, the first gentleman has probably been running, and we can see or he's been exercising. We can see the effects of that on his sweat. This lady looks kind of tired, so maybe she has been sleeping. Okay, maybe she's just up. The timeline is very similar, as you can see. It's very, very similar to the present perfect. The only real difference is this emphasis on duration or repetition, and it kind of works with certain action verbs as well. Okay, let's move on to some practice. So for these 4 sentences, I would like you to put the verbs in parenthesis into the correct tense. Now, not all of them are perfect tenses, so you'll have to read the context and make your mind up. Okay? So, as we can see, the first one, this is something that happened in the past, but there's no specific time here. Okay? So it's probably talking about someone's experience, more than likely. So I have driven the Pacific Coast Highway. Now the next one, it says twice, but both of them are in the past. The last year indicates that it's a past completed action. So this is just going to be drove, past simple. The next one, there's 2 parts to this sentence. First one is when I came to the US. And the next part is going to be the kind of the first thing that happened, or in this case didn't happen. So I had never studied English before. One indicator might be never. Again, that's a past perfect. And the last one we have all day. Okay, so it's kind of like a repetition or duration. This is kind of what is indicated by this sentence. So we're going to go with a present perfect progressive. Okay, so they are the perfect tenses. Quite difficult, and I think the more you read, the more you see them in action, the easier they'll get to identify. But look out for those keywords in particular, and think of them as 2 times coming into play. Okay, all the best. Good luck.